Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. Happy to be with you here today. Today we have a very special episode because I'm going to have a guest on with us, a personal friend that I am ever so happy to have with us. His name is Frank Johnson. Some people may be familiar with him. You may have seen him with the A10 Warthog. You may have seen him in some of the videos that I've shown on the channel. And he's an incredible man. You know what? Rather than me just laud you, Frank, introduce yourself.
Yeah, you have to excuse me. I got a little bit of a touch of a cold or something coming on, so my hearing's not that great right now. Everything sounds a little muffled in my head, but I just wanted to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to come on today and answer a couple of your questions and let everybody know what it is that we've been up to and what we've been preparing for, and what options that we've put together for people who would like to live in a censorship-free arena of internet communication. Absolutely.
Now, before I get to that, I want to give people a little bit of background because you are a very diverse man. I've known you as a New York State licensed firearm instructor. I've known you as a strong advocate for the First, Second, for the Constitution. But why don't you tell people a little bit about your background on who you are?
Well, I'm one of those people that's got a resume that's about 14 pages thick. If there's a job that's been out there, I've done it. I've cut my teeth in the private and public sector, and over my years of an experience of different jobs, I've come to appreciate certain things and see the value that a lot of other people tend to miss, and that has led me into a journey of always trying to do something to help other people as best I can within the skills that God would grace me with, whether that was from being a general contractor for 20 years or working as a firearms instructor or in security, or having a self-educated background in constitutional matters and trying to explain to people what their rights are, and be able to identify when those rights that we do have are under threat. And I've been very fortunate over the last few years that I was able to, with the help of a couple of other people, create an organization called the Liberty First Foundation. We're a civil rights-based organization that focuses on the Second Amendment, but we also have people that work on all constitutional issues. And we've been fortunate to, be in politics, being involved with various candidates, doing interviews and working with campaigns and trying to help them, write their message and make sure that the things that they were promoting were constitutional. And from that, we got into YouTube and hosting a channel on YouTube where we do product reviews for the Second Amendment, and we do political interviews with various candidates. And I was also fortunate for a while to,
thank you for joining us.
I was very fortunate to provide security for certain people over the years. It seems that those in politics tend to always have a tendency of being threatened. So, I was able to do that. There's just been a lot of things, and over the course of the years, we've just been able to, how should I say, find a lot of things that were missing in a lot of messages, and now we're in a position where we're able to provide services and information for those that feel that they've been shut down and neglected by the system.
Well, there's a lot of people who have that feeling at this moment. Since January 6th, as a matter of fact, on January 6th, many people were down in Washington, D.C., seeing what was going on there, the protest to stop the steal, which then evolved into a more active event. And you were down there for part of that time down in Washington, D.C., is that right?
Yeah, we got down to DC on the 5th, and we had met with a bunch of different people from a lot of different groups that have come to DC from all over the country, and these are all red-blooded American patriots who just wanted to come down there and let their voices be heard because they felt that during the past election that when you look at the evidence and don't ignore the evidence, you could see that there were a lot of things that happened with the election that were not kosher. There was a lot of evidence that says that votes were stolen, votes were manipulated, tallies were skewed, and that it only happened in certain areas where it would have made a difference in the outcome of the general election. So while people were saying there's no widespread fraud, you actually didn't need to have widespread fraud. You just needed to have it concentrated in certain areas. And by some mystery that we've never going to be able to get to the bottom of, that's exactly what happened. It was like the stars aligned in the most improbable and impossible manner to swing an election. And these people, myself included, wanted to have our voices be known that this was not only is it not acceptable for this election, but it's not acceptable for any election. It's not acceptable for any people to have their voices silenced by manipulating a vote and stealing an election. Because one of the most important things that we have in this country is our voting system. And if the people do not have confidence, full faith and confidence in our voting system, we cannot have full faith and confidence in the people that represent us. And if we can't have faith in that, we have no faith in government at all. And, the people that went to Washington, D.C. were going there to express that level of dissatisfaction. And what happened in D.C., whether it was an effort coordinated by outside factors, or if it was just a grassroots kind of thing that people decided to become a little bit more vocal and a little bit more physical, or from some of the video and evidence and interviews that I've been able to do, the doors were let open and the gates were taken down by people on the Capitol, as if they wanted to have that massive rush of people coming there. The only thing I can tell you for sure is that of the people that lost their lives in Washington, D.C., one was a 14-year veteran of the United States Air Force who was unarmed at the time.
Yes.
She was shot by Capitol Hill police. The other people that passed were in the crowd, had medical conditions that had nothing to do with the quote-unquote violence or unrest that you saw in the Capitol itself. And as far as what happened inside the building, well, I can tell you, I've been center stage at some really bad situations, and that was probably one of the most cordial riots I've ever seen, given the lack of damage that was done, the fact that there were no fires set. It wasn't like any of the peaceful protests that we had seen over the summer.
Nothing like what we saw in Seattle and Portland and so forth. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we still have. I mean, what amazes me is how quickly people that were in Washington, D.C. were picked up 2 or 3 days later at their homes. But when we have the quote-unquote chop zone out in Portland, Oregon, a 14-year-old boy and his 16-year-old brother were both shot, with the 16-year-old brother being killed, and we still don't have a suspect involved with that. There were shopkeepers across this country, store owners that had their, that were severely beaten and killed over the course of the summer, and arrests have yet to be made. And it just amazes me how, the assets of investigative authorities were so quick to respond to a protest in Washington, D.C. when the target of the ire was our congressional representation, and when it was the people who were victimized through the rest of the year, it just seems that was more or less acceptable.
Very acceptable.
I think that, too, is something that's adding to the anger for a lot of people is that it was like a drumbeat beaten into us over the course of this year that you have these people on television telling you that this is a mostly peaceful protest, and behind them a city is burning to the ground,
Yeah.
and they're calling that peaceful. But then you have other people that show up waving flags and singing "God Bless America," and those are the people that are being told are terrorists.
It's just insane.
It's just it's a crazy thing that we're living through. And I don't think you could have written this if you were a sci-fi writer. I mean, George Orwell could look at this past year and say, "Hey guys, my book was only was not a suggestion. It was a book. It was not a guideline."
Yeah. Wasn't a plan to follow. Well, a lot of that in what we saw in Washington, D.C., it is Orwellian, and it has happened, and it's caused a backlash. We saw the internet overlords react very quickly, much in line with what Senator Leahy and Senator Blumenthal had asked for, and decided to become even more tyrannical online and to censor literally millions of people at this point. Between Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Google, there are some millions that have been shut down, shut out, ostracized throughout the world. Now, there's a little bit of a backlash against this because Twitter was down yesterday, again today, down 2.35%. We see Facebook down again today, another 2.24%. It was down yesterday, like 6.5%. And we're seeing places like Idaho and even Uganda are literally blocking Facebook and Twitter, which I don't know if you knew about that, but they've been actively blocking them. And in fact, Twitter is now upset because they're getting blocked, and they think it's an offense to violate basic human rights, which is just absolutely insane. But let me ask you, you also had a reaction to what we saw with the censorship coming from Facebook and Twitter. What was that reaction?
Well, truth be told, what we've seen, and we have been crying about this for quite some time. We've been trying to ring the alarm bell as far as the censorship goes, because the organization that we put together with the Liberty First Foundation, it flies in the face of a lot of the conventional leftist wisdom, and we found ourselves being shadow banned quite often, not being able to get our message out, not disseminate information, because it was based on constitutional principles, and we wanted to educate people and have forums, and we found that we were having a lot of this issue, and we realized that our back was going to be up against the wall, and not only us, but anybody who wanted to speak on constitutional principles was going to wind up getting shut down. And then it started getting worse. It was even if you were a moderate, you were getting shut down. And even then it got worse. Even if you just questioned the mass media, you were getting shut down. And we started to see that this was being a really big problem. And we started putting together a social media network that would be free of the censorship that you see on Facebook and Twitter and all the rest of these different platforms, where we said, what if we were able to produce a social media network that was just censor-free? No little jails, no suspensions, no quote-unquote fact-checkers. What if there was a place where the marketplace of ideas could truly be fostered in an open fashion, and that people could just, whether they wanted to agree or disagree, whether they wanted to, to argue or debate, they would be able to do so without the fear of having to come back, a little while later and say, well, your opinion goes against community standards. And what we did is we put together something called the Freedom Forum website, and it's a platform that has a functionality very similar to what Facebook is, what people are familiar with, except we don't have, and we have no desire to, shut anybody's down. We don't want to shout anybody down. We don't want to, close off debate. We don't want to close off topic. We want to encourage it. We want to encourage people of all stripes to come to the network and actually do the one thing that our government has failed to do, and that's find solutions. And the reason that our government can't find solutions is because nobody talks to one another. They speak on ideological terms. Nobody listens to the other side. The facts get covered by ideological bent, and then nobody ever looks at back and says, you know what, is this constitutional? Is this what our country was supposed to be like? Well, you can't do that if you're shutting people down. That's why Facebook is become, to some, it's become an echo chamber, whether on the right or on the left. The only problem is the echo chamber on the right is getting smaller and smaller and smaller because dissenting voices keep getting shut down. And the voices on the left become paramount. And, what is the one for, one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter. Well, we're starting to see that, what we would have, what our parents and grandparents would have deemed as being American patriots are now being classified as domestic terrorists because they don't want to follow the company line. They don't want to just sit there and say, yes, we agree with the election being stolen, or we agree with whatever, we don't agree with whatever policy. So we created a network that is completely censorship-free, and we are doing the one thing that all of the other alleged censorship-free sites have not done, and we've built it on a private server.
That's a big difference.
We are not beholden to any of the big tech companies to house our platform on it. We're not going to worry about getting a letter from Jeff Bezos saying that if we don't conform to his standards, that they're going to shut us down. They don't have the ability to do that. We're not their customer. We're not on that platform, and we can operate the way that we want to operate, which is freely. So, we were encouraging people to try and come over to our new platform, and we're not telling everybody to leave the platform you're on. All we're trying to say is, listen, establish a presence on our platform as well. Invite your friends, invite your family, have the same conversations you're having elsewhere, except have them here. You can do both, because at some point or another, the big networks are going to either tell you that you have to comply or you're going to be shut down. And if you're going to be shut down, at least you'll have another option to go to. And we've had a lot of success so far. We've only been to less than 48 hours.
That's what I was going to say.
Our platform is up, and we've already gotten a tremendous amount of hits. And in that same 48 hours, we found that the MeWe social network is down. Parler is down. Gab is under threat. They were all coming out with warnings saying that they need help and they need this and they need that. Well, we're there and we're operating, and our door is open.
I think a big difference that a lot of people need to realize is, again, and it can't be said enough, unlike Gab and Parler and MeWe, you independently have servers, and you're going out there, and this is your own money. As a matter of fact, just so people know, I'm on the channel myself. I'm one of the early adopters. We've got several hundred, about 500 some odd more, maybe even more people that have joined already. And I took the option to actually help pay and donate to this service every month to make sure that it continues. Now, that's not required, but it's something that I wanted to do to give back, because this is a safe haven, regardless of any other service people may use, and I use all of the other ones as well. Whether or not they're going to keep me on there is another question, but I use them. But I have this as well as a safe haven, so that if tomorrow or later today, Twitter and Facebook decide to wipe me out, I'll still exist and I'll still be able to communicate with people. So I find that to be very important. How hard was it to set this up?
Well, fortunately, my tech guru is actually my nephew, and he has been doing social media platforms for teenagers for quite some time. He wanted to provide kids. Well, mostly I think he wanted to provide parents with an option of letting their kids to have a social media platform that was going to be safe and that would be predator free, and that you wouldn't have people going in there and looking to cause harm and stuff like that. So he created a network called ChatSpot, and it's primarily a teenage-based platform based around gaming and chat rooms and stuff like that. And he's got so many safety precautions built into that parents can send their kids there, and they can have a decent time online and not have to worry about having people sending them photos or vice versa. So the network infrastructure was already there, and what we were able to do was just adapt a new platform into the same infrastructure because it was already there to begin with, and make the interface as user-friendly as possible so that anybody who would be familiar with the way Facebook operates now, or the way that they used to operate the old MySpace pages, everybody would be able to navigate this platform and have a decent time and be relatively familiar with it and not have to worry about a big learning curve. So the plan, the infrastructure was in place. It was just a matter of filling in the blanks. And we weren't really supposed to launch right now. We were supposed to launch on the 20th of January to coincide with Inauguration Day. That was already the plan, depending upon which way the election went. But when we saw that the President of the United States was getting shut down and that hundreds of thousands of other people were getting shut down, we wanted to make sure that we could get this up and running ahead of time so that, number one, we could have like a beta group of people that could come in there and help us find all the little flaws and defects that we might not have discovered yet. And two, so that when the rest of the people start, getting out of the self-imposed jail that they're in over on Facebook, when they move onto our platform, there's already a community there. And there's already people that they can reach out to. There's already groups going to be there, different networks there, whether, based in politics or hobbies or marketplace, whatever it is. We wanted to be able to have enough people on our platform that when people got there, they didn't feel like they were a voice in the desert, just, with no one to talk to.
Right.
We wanted to make sure that there was a sense of community right from the start. So as soon as you get onto our platform, you can hit the ground running, start making friends, start putting up posts, put up your photographs, put up your videos, and just, proceed as if you would, but without the overwhelming heavy hand of censorship sitting on your shoulder, making sure that you abide by everybody's community standards.
No.
All community standards are pretty much, hey, listen, try not to, be an idiot. Be decent. If you have a kid in your house who's looking over your shoulder and you're going to post something that you wouldn't let your kids see, and maybe you shouldn't post it. If your mother would smack you for putting something up on the internet that you put up, well, maybe you shouldn't post it. And that's how we're gonna run things. We're gonna be self-policing. We want the people to be able to express themselves and just use their own common sense and judgment. And if somebody says or does something that's inappropriate, everybody else on the site, we're not going to shut that person down, but everybody's still going to have the opportunity to block that person. If you don't want to see something, you don't have to. It's not going to be in your face. It's the change your channel methodology. If you don't like what they're saying on one channel, change the channel, move to another. So, that's how we want to run it. We believe that the marketplace for ideas is wide and is varied, and there's plenty of room for everybody to be involved with it.
Now I want to mention something, Frank. Well, not so much for you, but for everyone else who's watching. A lot of people may think, well, it's just like Facebook. It looks just like Facebook. It's not completely like Facebook. Like, you can't live stream at this moment. As you mentioned, there's somewhat of a beta stage going on right now. It's still building up. So you can't do live streaming at the moment. There are some limitations in terms of size because it's in its beta stage, but it is growing. Is that correct?
Missed the last part.
Yeah, that is it correct that it is still growing and more features are being added. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, as it is right now, if you were to compare our features from any of the other major social media networks, we are running at about 95% of their features as far as all the different plugins that are available on our website, on the site, that you can do whatever you want to do. We're about 95%. And the reason we're not 100% yet is because some of those programs that we have to put in, like video chat, video conferencing, and stuff like that, they're very, very, very expensive. And as it is right now, this is being completely and totally self-funded, and there's no advertising on the site as of yet. Eventually, that's all going to need to be rolled in because we're going to have some sort of revenue come in, because we don't want to ever get to the position where it has to be a pay-to-play site for members. We wanted to keep it free, but our advertising is going to come from, well, we're hopeful that our advertising revenue is going to come from organizations and companies that are more geared to our community rather than just cram down everybody's throat. We want to be able to offer opportunities to the smaller businesses and smaller companies that don't have the opportunity to have huge advertising budgets that other social media organizations would charge. So we want to be able to have them advertise on us based on local levels, so that we can tailor advertising, for them, for their needs, and hopefully we can have enough of an operating budget that we can start incorporating more of the high-tech plugins, video conferencing for multiple people in the rooms and all the rest of that. But as it is right now, we also have a lot of plugins on ours that the big guys don't have. We have a complete gaming network that's with us. There are literally tens of thousands of games, different video games that you have access to through this platform. We have something called Music Craze, which is thousands and thousands upon thousands of streaming music that is accessible through this platform. There is so much more to the Freedom Forum website than just a Facebook replacement. It is truly getting to the point where it is an all-in-one website experience, and we're just going to keep adding to that as we go. We are working on the mobile app right now, but again, the mobile app is difficult because once we have the app developed, it's trying to find a place to store that app and make it available to the public. There is only going to be two options. They're going to have to either download it from our website, or we're going to have to house it on a platform that doesn't want us, like the Play Store. We've just seen the Play Store just started removing apps of companies that they don't like.
Yeah, Parler and a few others.
So we're not exactly gonna be rushing to fill. Just if I see somebody pulling their foot out of a bear trap, it doesn't mean I'm going to go step in the same bear trap because it's empty.
Good point.
We don't want to do that. We want to stay as far away from all of that drama as we possibly can. So once our mobile app is up, it will be available on the website. We'll be able to download it directly through the Freedom Forum website platform. But as it is right now, we're telling people, just if you download this onto your phone, get up to your address bar and hold down the address and just create a shortcut right on your home wall. And it'll act just like the app does. You click on it, and it'll directly open up the Freedom Forum website, and you'll be able to do everything that you did, otherwise. So the app is really not totally necessary at this point, but we know there's a lot of people that would like the app, so we are working on it. But again, like everything else, it's going to take time and it's going to take resources. And to get those, we need more people to sign up and get on the platform.
And I hope people will. Again, I've been mentioning it in several of my programs, and no, that is not a paid service, in case anyone's wondering. I wasn't paid for saying a word or joining the Freedom Forum. I did so because I want to. And in fact, I'm actually paying to be part of it because I want to. That was my voluntary thing. But I think it's important that people know these alternatives exist, and people like yourself are taking the opportunity to use the technology that exists and to free up communication to celebrate the First Amendment and not try and use it in a draconian way like we see with Facebook, like we see with Twitter, like we're seeing with the Amazon and the other major internet overlords. Now, Frank, I know you've been on a very busy schedule. You came straight from work to go to D.C. to come back and to start up the Freedom Forum. And now I know you're going on to a couple of other things immediately. Let me ask you, what other message or what other thing would you like to say to the people who are watching this, who are considering checking out the Freedom Forum?
The message that I have to people is pretty much this. Be in charge of your own destiny and be in charge of your own voice. Go wherever it is that you feel that you need to go. If you want to have social media, go ahead, have at it. Do whatever it is that makes you happy. But if you're going to sit on social media that has rules and regulations that are in direct opposition to what you think is right and what you feel and believe to be true and honest, you have options out there. Don't if you're in a prisoner in a prison about the guards and you're complaining about the exercise, and you turn around and realize that there are no doors or bars, and you don't walk out, then don't complain about the prison that you're in. It's a self-imposed sentence, and there is freedom out here. There is a way to get away. You just have to be bold, and you have to be courageous, and you have to say, I'm going to take the leap, and I'm going to move forward. And if you're worried about the people that you're leaping behind, encourage them to come to you. Courage and leadership are both infectious. And if one person stands and starts to move forward, others will follow you. So don't be afraid. People are saying that the Facebook platform is so big. You got to keep in mind, Mark Zuckerberg didn't build Facebook. The users did.
Yeah, people joining it did.
People that joined Facebook, they contributed their stories, they contributed their photographs, their time, their effort. They're the ones that shared the music videos, that shared the articles, that shared the news stories. It's their community that they created. And you know what? You can create that community someplace else, and you can do it without the confines of somebody else's rules.
Absolutely. And this is the living proof of it. For those who have questions about it, it exists. And at the very least, they can just come over to the Freedom Forum website and check it out. They can't lose anything for taking a look, right?
There's nothing to lose and everything to gain. Just go to freedomforum.website, click on the link. It takes about 30 seconds to sign up and have an account. Unlike other platforms, if you don't, we have an active live news feed, so you'll see things from people that you don't know. Otherwise, if you join on Facebook and you don't have any friends to join on with, you have to actively search and find people. You don't have to do that with Freedom Forum. You can actually find people as soon as you sign on. You'll see people talking. You'll see people conversing. Make friends. expand your world, expand your horizon. That's what we're there. You will find people that you know, and you can always invite more and build a new community the way you want your community to be, not the way somebody else envisioned it.
And I think that's a great message right there. Frank, I want to thank you for taking some time to tell us about the Freedom Forum and the work that you're doing, telling us about and reminding people about the Liberty First Foundation, all the efforts that you've done, and the time that you had down in Washington, D.C., telling us a little bit about your experience down there. And there are many other stories, I know. And I look forward to talking with you more about this. I just want to thank you. It's...
Well...
Good.
Well, I gotta thank you too. I mean, you've been in this racket a whole lot longer than we have, and your voice has touched a lot of people out there. And if it weren't for guys like you leading the way with independent journalism, journalism would truly have died a long, long time ago. It's guys like you that keep those fires lit, keep the torches burning, and as long as you guys are out there doing what we're doing, we can do what we're doing, and hopefully, eventually, rebuild our system.
Yep. Well, that's what we're going to try and do. And we're going to get there together. That's the big thing. But Frank, I want to thank you. And I'll talk to you in a little bit. And we'll keep up on this. And we'll keep letting people know what's going on. All right?
All right.
Thanks, Frank.
Michael, you be good. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. And that was Frank Johnson. He is a wonderful friend and an innovator, an entrepreneur, someone who has been a stalwart champion of the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Constitution, and someone who I am happy to call a friend and someone I'm happy to support. And I hope that you also take the opportunity to check out the Freedom Forum. It costs nothing. It's there for you. It is an alternative. And at this time, it is a much needed alternative, I think. But I do thank you, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Please never forget, on every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we do have a live stream with you talking about the issues that matter and hearing your voice. Please do join us on this channel for that every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you.